and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Has everyone completed the review?
I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Okay, I'm gonna hand it over to Phil for introduction of our visitors.
Thank you, everybody. I'm often asked by this committee under legislators what's going on with the sanctuary. So this week, folks from NOAA's National Marine Sanctuary Program are in town because of some events this week, and I asked if they could be present, come in and give the committee an update. And Chairwoman Cheswell thought that would be a great idea. So I'm happy to introduce Jeff Gray, who is our acting superintendent of the sanctuary, and Stephanie Gunderson.
Yes, very, very well.
And as we know, things got delayed a little bit because of federal budgets, but now a lot of that is released. We thought we would have our own superintendent at this point, but the way things have played out in the federal government, Jeff is the superintendent of 2 or 3 sanctuaries at once, right? But all in the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And Jeff has been the superintendent of Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, which is the one we're modeled after. So in a bad situation, we got the best in the world because we got the experience guy running this one. So I'll turn it over to Jeff.
Cool. I'll jump up if that's okay, if I can stand up and run the slides here. So thank you, Phil, and thank you for having me. For those that don't know about the National Marine Sanctuary, I just want to start with just a quick update of what our system is to give you a sense of what we do. The easiest way to think of us is we're the national parks of the ocean and Great Lakes, and there are about 18 sites that go all the way from American Samoa to the East Coast. The Florida Keys is probably our flagship sanctuary that protects all those coral reefs up there. But our mission is we protect these amazing places. Take you on a little video tour of these places. We use research, monitoring, education, outreach, community engagement, and resource protection to protect these amazing ocean places. I'm giving you about a 45-minute presentation in about 7 minutes, so we'll have more times to get in this. So, and hopefully some of you will be at the Film Fest and get a sense of what we do. But I wanted to zoom in a little bit on the Great Lakes because that's what I think everyone in this room loves and cares about. For 22 years, I've been the superintendent of Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary. I was the first superintendent hired there in 2002. We originally 450 square miles. We're now 4,300 square miles. A few years back, we designated one in Wisconsin, and we're super happy. Almost 2 years ago, Lake Ontario got designated. It is not, as Phil alluded to, ideal that the superintendent is 350 miles away, but we do have staff in the community. We're trying to build that staff. We are in a hiring freeze right now. The federal government's in a hiring freeze, so we don't know how long this will be. As Phil mentioned, I'm the superintendent of Thunder Bay, but I'm also the regional director for all the sites in the Great Lakes, the East Coast all the way down to North Carolina. So several of us are double heading, but we're trying to make the best out of it. Stephanie is here. She's the research coordinator for our site in there. And all these, and there's a proposed site in Lake Erie mentioned. All these 3 sites are working together now. What's the resources of one is another. We'll have a couple team up here in some of our boats and stuff. We're going to share resources until we get the adequate staffing here. As much as I love this place, and I've been a year working on it and meeting people, my goal is not to have this job because I think someone really needs to be embedded in this community, and we will still work together with that. So we will keep you updated. I will also say that we've been able to argue that the superintendent of Lake Ontario is in the top 3 to 5 sites in our entire system, positions that they want to fill. There are several superintendents, but we've been able to elevate it to the highest priority when that comes. This is, as you know, I'm not going to spend any time here on this slide, but you know what an incredible, special place this is. It does deserve the national attention that this system brings to it, and we're really excited to share the resources within this sanctuary, not just with the community here, but with people around the world. And I'm going to quickly talk about some of the programs and things we have coming up. On the first, on Wednesday night, we have our Sanctuary Advisory Council that consists of about 30 members of the community from every different walk of life. They help guide us in our management decisions. We have a meeting on Thursday with that. Phil, we were talking the other day, and we are going to work on doing more detailed minutes from that are more publicly accessible. So when we come out of those meetings, he can share those with you on the different particularly projects, so we can go a little deeper for you on that. The next night, we have our Lake Ontario Film Festival. That'll be over at the Best Western. We're super excited for that. I think we're at about 150 tickets reserved for that so far, which is an amazing number. We've been doing a film festival in Thunder Bay for about 15 years, and I don't think we got anywhere close to 150 people on our first year. So we're really excited about this. This will be a one-night event, and what we're really trying to do with this is showcase stuff about the Great Lakes, about the ocean that we work to protect. But for those that are going, you'll get a little sneak peek on some of the programs that we have coming up this year and in future years. So we selected films very carefully to talk about some of the progress. Some of our advisory council members, we're already planning next year for things that we can add to the film festival, and that includes some student programs where we'll take the films into classrooms. Next year we'll engage students, a student film competition, we'll have that join in with folks. But then also after the film fest and until the rest of the year, we're going to try to take films on the road, where we're going to hit different communities this spring, this summer, this fall, where we can do some feature films, really to try to engage people throughout that incredible coastline of the sanctuary. One of the films that we'll highlight Thursday night, is one on underwater robotics program. Thunder Bay has hosted an underwater robotics program where we train students how to build ROVs, we call them, remotely operated vehicles. They use these vehicles, it's what we use for our research. We've been doing this for over 20 years now. The video you're seeing there is we hosted the International ROV Competition. That brought about 2,000 people into our community from around the world. There'll be a film that will talk about one of the teams that was in that competition. Why we're excited about that, at the end of the month, here we'll be doing a workshop for educators that will come in, a 2-day workshop, so we can train educators in this community about this technology and have that be a catalyst for hopefully they'll start developing teams in the community. We'll be sending people from California as well as from Wisconsin and Michigan to teach this course. It's free for teachers, and our educators can be informal and formal educators, and they'll actually get an underwater robot. And again, we hope this is a catalyst for more future education programs coming forward.
Jeff, is that part of that to purpose of this to expose students to potential careers in
Yes, it's
underwater? I want to make sure I introduce you to Rachel Pierce, our workforce development.
okay. Yeah, this is STEM all the way through, and we have done teams from kindergarten through community college, the program. So yeah, and when we're done, and if I through Phil, I can get besides the films that we're showing at the competition, we can show we can get to other films so you can learn more about this program. As part of, sorry, I didn't back up there. As part of this grant, we don't get to host the international competition every year, but we do host a regional competition for the state of Michigan and surrounding states every May. We'll bring a few educators from this that participate in this so they can see what the actual competition looks. Really look at this as a way to incubate future programs. It will take a little bit of time for this to go, but we're super excited, and it's been very, very engaging, and we're able to start doing the same thing in Wisconsin this year as well. The sanctuary is about shipwrecks, and last year was an absolutely amazing research year. Despite the small number of staff, we were able to do a major cruise with the Lake Guardian and partnering with University of Rhode Island, bringing cutting edge. That is the same thing that the students are building, just about a couple $100,000 more. These underwater robots. So this is the pinnacle of that. This was a time where I was not able to travel because some of the stuff going on with the shutdown and that, so I was not part of this cruise. But I tell you, I was drooling watching it on a computer, wishing I was out with the team there. It was just absolutely amazing what they discovered, what they documented, and the images, the products that you'll see here in this video. This will be, again, kind of that building blocks for future programs to come, for our research, for our interpretation, for our promotion and programming. The images that were constructed from this will be used for decades to come, and we're super excited about that. And some of the products that came for that were just these stunning, that is not an image, that is a 3D model of one of the ships, and it's really absolutely incredible. These are the best images that I've ever seen produced that happened here last year. We are working hard to bring that ship and that University of Rhode Island team back again this year. We had not planned on that. We think we found some grant money that will bring them in for a week or so to do some further documentation with that. So in the coming weeks, we hope to make an announcement about that. We have a very active field season, the research that we're doing. One of the highlights, and again, there'll be a small clip of this at the Film Fest, you'll see is a group called Force Blue. These are special forces, former special forces members, think Navy SEALs, Rangers, parajumpers, that come together that look for a purpose after their service. Some of these individuals are struggling with the transition back into real world. So it's from what's their to stewardship? From service to stewardship is their motto, where they're bringing these guys together, some of the best trained divers in the world that come in to do a project in June, end of June, early July. We're still trying to finalize it. This Force Blue team will come to Lake Ontario to do some research with us. They will also do some community outreach events. We'll probably do some film screenings, and in the next couple weeks we hope to have that finalized. We hope to get them again throughout that whole coastline. When they came to Thunder Bay, we got them in and they met with students. They went to some of our rural schools where Navy SEALs were talking to high school students in very, very rural northern Michigan about the importance of STEM technology and how they use that. And so it's a great way to engage folks. Stephanie is actually leading the Force Blue efforts across the entire system. So we're excited that, and you'll see a clip of this film. They will be bringing a film crew with them, so there'll be a small documentary done about Lake Ontario, the work they're doing here, and that will be shown at film festivals around the country in the coming years. And I'm going to go fast because I know I'm probably close to my time here, but in addition to the URI vessel, mapping is a key focus of what we do. It's how we understand what's on the bottom. We like to say we have we don't like to say this, but it's true, that we have higher resolution maps of the moon than we do of the bottom of the ocean or Great Lakes. And so there's a strong effort to map the Great Lakes. We've been fortunate enough that we've been able to make sanctuaries the priority of the Great Lakes. Stephanie also is part of a team that's leading what's called Lakebed 2030, a map goal to try to map all of the Great Lakes by 2030. That probably is not going to happen, but it's pushing all the agencies going forward. About this Thunder Bay there, about 2 years ago, I would say only a fifth of that was mapped, and that was 20 years worth of work. Look where we are already with Lake Ontario from a few years ago, so we're excited how far along we are with Lake Ontario. And then this year, the NOAA ship Thomas Jefferson will be coming into the Great Lakes, spending some time in Lake Erie and a whole bunch of time in Lake Erie with the goal of trying to map most of the sanctuary. These big NOAA white ships, we call them, they do not come to the Great Lakes very often, but sanctuary designation is one of the factors that pulled them in. So we are going to get some significant mapping done of the sanctuary, not just the traditional multi-beam mapping, but these uncrewed vessels called the DRICs will be out mapping here, and they'll be here for the Lake Ontario. We're still trying to finalize the dates when they'll be here, but it'll probably be starting in June through the year. We think the Thomas Jefferson is going to be porting here, so we're going to be able to do some community events and get tours on that. But we're working. There's a new XO commander of the ship that's coming on, and as soon as we have that, we'll look for a few weekends where we can get advisory council members, community members out on the ships to learn about this incredible science. I can't overstate how big that mapping is done. 25 years I've been trying to map Thunder Bay, and we're not there, and we might get Ontario done in 2 or 3 years. So that's a huge thing, not just for the shipwrecks, but for really better understanding the Great Lakes and how we protect the lakes themselves. It's really the baseline data for all that We have a whole bunch of other research from dive teams coming in and still trying to finalize some details with that. One of the things sanctuaries do, we have teams of research like Stephanie, myself are archaeologists, but the way we get our work done is we try to attract people. We coordinate research, we try to bring universities in, other agencies, really magnify what we have here by building the infrastructure to get them to come. And I think every year you'll see more and more research done on the shipwrecks and other aspects of the sanctuary. And we've been talking about films the whole time. I'm gonna do a coming soon, like this is like a trailer. I'm gonna end with some trailers, some things that are coming up. We believe on Friday, there's gonna be an announcement of community fund grants. This is a grant that NOAA with our National Marine Sanctuary Foundation put a call out for grants. There will be somewhere between about 9 grants announced in this community, from everything from education programs to some research to some interpretation at local museums. I wanted to be able to say what they were at this meeting, but I'm on a gag order. I might let that out at our advisory council meeting, but there'll be some very exciting stuff that will take place with groups here. A group from our advisory council finalized a friends group, so we have a 501c3 that was just finalized. We're super excited about that. Another way to bring in other resources to complement what we're doing. We're gonna have a meeting this week while we're here trying to figure how that gets kicked off. NOAA is conducting a large socioeconomics study, which I think we are gonna do a program here pretty soon, in about a month, and we'll get that to Phil, so we're gonna do it where the economists will be on. We'll have like a lunch and learn where we can dive deeper in that if anyone's interested, and we'll make sure you get that. And finally, there was some stuff in the paper about a month ago about the state of New York receiving a large grant to do a visualization project that's taking those 3D models and trying to get them embedded into our communities. We'll be meeting with the state this week to see where those will be and what those products will look like. That is all I have. I'm sorry if I went over, but I'm happy to take any questions. If
Good. I was just gonna ask you if you had time for questions.
I have as much time as you want to give me, yeah.
That was wonderful.
I'm just curious, our friends to the north, our Canadian friends, where are they on this?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've conducted joint projects. We haven't here yet in Thunder Bay. We have because we also share the international border. Their Parks Canada is both their national parks and their marine parks as well. So they have a dedicated system to that. They did send a representative, I believe, last year to participate in that cruise on the Lake Guardian ROV. So we're looking for ways to partner with them. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Very much so. Very much so.
Jeff.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so glad to host you guys on Thursday. We're having the meeting, the Friends group over at our office, but a lot of work's been going on. Katie Malinowski, who talked to Open Mission, Bill Christ, myself we're the officers for the Sanctuary Advisory Council, but a lot of stuff's going on, and also trying to, I know it wasn't mentioned, but trying to make sure that the Marine Sanctuary has a presence at Harbor Fest as well
Yes.
here in July. So
Yeah.
just with tens of thousands of people being there, it's a great opportunity to introduce them to Marine Sanctuary.
No, I think that's a great point, that a lot of the work that has happened besides that cruise last year has been behind the scenes, but I think more and more in the coming months you're going to see more public events, more things coming. We're going to try to get more of our team here from Wisconsin and Thunder Bay as well to kind of augment the programs here. The team was just in New Jersey at a dive show. Beneath the Sea, thank you. It's the largest dive show on the East Coast with a kind of a booth about the sanctuary and about the area, trying to encourage divers to come to the area. So hopefully we'll see more national and local work. There's some Capitol Hill Ocean Week, which I believe, Phil, I don't know if you've ever been to Capitol Hill Ocean Week. It's the largest kind of ocean centered event on the hill, where they're talking about trying to highlight that URI project as part of that this year. So we're getting some good presence in DC as well.
Jeff, prior to Ellen Brody's retirement, she was working on and talked with the SAC about possibly this year buoying about 4 shipwrecks. Do you know what the status of that
Yes,
is?
sir. That's a great question. Yeah. So mooring buoys, for people that don't know, is we put buoys on. So we protect the shipwrecks but we want people to go visit them. That's something that, so we don't, one way you can protect something is you cut people off. We encourage people to go visit them. We just want to make sure they do it in a way that future generations can enjoy it like they do today. Mooring buoys is the key way to do that. It marks the site so your boat can find that wreck. It's safer for the divers because they can go up and down on it. And then thirdly, you don't have to drop an anchor, which is the way that some of the wrecks are damaged. And so it's one of our key programs. We had hoped, there were a couple that were permitted last year. With all of the cuts, we were not able to implement that project. We are working with Coast Guard to get permits on 16, I think 14 to 16. Coast Guard has been impacted by this shutdown, and the civilian side of the Coast Guard has been in it. So our intent is to get them in. We're working on ship time. We have the supplies that have been ordered. We're ready to go, and we're trying to figure that out. I can't guarantee, at this point, we can't guarantee when and how many we'll get, but we are going to try to get as many as we can.
So is this going to take longer than?
Yeah.
And
But
during the expedition last year, how many wrecks did it have?
I think they had 18 is my recollection. Yeah, so they got quite a few. And if they come back, we're hoping it's, and again, I can't overstate how the level of documentation on those sites. And that led to a couple short documentaries, and you'll see one of those.
I just had a thought, will you have a presence at the state fair? Booth or anything?
I don't think it's on our list right now, but we can see what we can.
When is that?
It would be August.
End of August.
Early September.
Here in Oswego, or?
No, it's in
In
Syracuse,
Syracuse.
just 25 miles down.
New York Sea Grant usually has a booth or an exhibit there, that may be the time.
Yeah. Sea
thank
Grant
you,
Sea is hosting their regional meeting here this
May 18th through
yeah.
21.
Yeah. So-
Anybody else have any questions? Feel free to
But-
stay if you want,
all
feel
right.
free to leave.
Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Thank you, John.
so
Yep.
much.
See you, Joe.
Just for that, we'll get into resolution.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you soon.
See you at Film Fest. Yeah.
All right, EP1. That's a resolution appointing members to the Oswego County Soil and Water Board of Directors. Joe's not here, but I will say that they're already members on this board. They're looking to reappoint them. It includes Linda Lockwood, term to expire 2026. Mary Ellen, the chairman here, 2026, and then Jeff Richards, who I know, term to expire 2028.
I'll make a motion to move this one. Our second call.
Okay, does anyone have any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Yes.
Did we approve last month's minutes?
Yes.
We did, we just got it.
That's okay. We did that right after the flag.
Okay.
Did you have an issue with that?
No, no.
EP2, resolution authorizing a budgetary modification for the Department of Workforce Development. And it's, has to do with accepting funds for Oswego Build. So Rachel, I'm gonna ask you to fill us in on that.
I'll
Yeah.
move it.
Okay. Did I hear a second?
Second?
No discussion? Any discussion?
So this is just a small amount, that we were able to get from the Workforce Development Institute, so just over $3,400. They actually, this is their state funding that, had to be expended by the end of March. So they came to us and said, do you need something? So I will take every little bit that someone wants to put into Oswego Build. So this is, this money is going towards work piece assessments for our current cohort, that we have 14 people in, and also a pair of work boots for each individual. And the work boots are coming from Cortini Shoes in Fulton. Yeah, Joe's a great guy. So we worked with him on the first cohort as well, because we're trying to keep as much local as we can with this program too. So this money is actually, we've already invoiced, it had to be spent and invoiced by the end of March. So this is just a small portion. We're looking for moving forward now that WDI has their new allocation starting tomorrow from the state. We'll probably go back to that for future cohorts too, because they want to continue to support the Circle Bill.
So it's $3,408.
Yes.
Roy?
So can you elaborate a little bit for everybody on what that means that you're spending it on, the cohort 14? Does that pay for 14 people to take the certifications or the testing?
Yes, all 14 of them, they actually took their work keys assessments, their graphic literacy, applied math, and workplace documents assessments last week. That was part of this. And all 14 of them did earn their National Career Readiness credential.
Excellent. That's
Yep.
a great way to spend that money.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And with that National Career Readiness credential, each of them will then get an additional point on their union apprenticeship interviews when that time comes as well. Unions have already said that with having that additional certification, it's extra points.
Awesome. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. EP3. This is a resolution authorizing a budget bond for the Department of Workforce Development also for continued operations.
I'll move it.
Okay.
Anyone have anything to say on this? Rachel, do you want to say anything?
It's just moving around. We had put a lot of our funding into our scholarship tuition line, and the needs that have come through have been supportive services and youth work experience. So it's just,
I always like to see money go for these. This is $40,000. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. EP4. This is Office of Mobility Management. We've been awarded a capital funding grant contract, right? For new and replacement buses? Yes. Would you like to speak?
I'll move it.
Okay, sorry. Got a second?
Paul.
Yes, this is for 7 vehicles. 3 of the vehicles will be replacing older vehicles that are now pushing around 400,000 miles, so they're ready to be retired. And then we have 4 expansion vehicles to help with accesses to the county program and our fixture house.
Great. Anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Passed. EP5 is a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds to Oswego County Housing Development Council to support drinking water and sewer lateral hookup program.
I'll move it.
Second.
Second. Okay, this is going to be Tim.
All right,
Do you
so
mind speaking about this?
absolutely. So just a quick background, open thumbs, we've got a long meeting today, but historically, the county planning office ran a revolving loan program that we received funding federally through the CDBG, through the state, through Housing Community Renewal, and we were able to utilize those funds to assist low and moderate income individuals in our community for septic system repair work, hooking up their laterals when public water comes in, people who are used to being on a well, and things like that. So the thought was, and we have seen this, that sometimes some of these homes, these lower income individuals, they can't keep them up to a place where the health department is, it allows them to, essentially, right? Their wells have failed, their septic systems have failed, and the cost to fix that can be very substantial, to the point where folks who can't afford it could very well lose their home because it's no longer safe to dwell in. We have seen that historically. This is a program that the Community Development Block Grant used to fund. Well, a few years ago, back in 22 or 23, they stopped that. Administratively, a revolving loan is a lot of work to keep track of. Think about a revolving loan. We give the money to the low-income folks, and they pay it back $25 a month until they pay it back. But you have to administer that, and you have to tell the state and the federal government every month how much you've got in, how much is interest. It's a pain. So ultimately, they get away with revolving loan programs. And so essentially what they did, they gave it back to the county and said, you can use that for whatever the county can use it for. And for a few years, we were able to continue to help people. Ultimately, it was pointed out that the county actually cannot legally help individuals. We don't have the authority by state law to assist them. It has to go through an intermediary or a program of the federal or state government, which this didn't. And so the plan that we came up with is to utilize the funds that are in that loan account to essentially give them to a local nonprofit that does this as their mission. I'm not sure how familiar you all are with the Oswego County Housing Development Corporation, but this is what they do. They assist low to moderate income folks in our county. They do first-time homebuyer programs. They do rehab programs, things like that. So what we're looking to do is move the funds that have been sitting in that account for a couple of years, unfortunately unable to be used to assist our community, to the Housing Council, and then they will set up a program very similar to the one we used to have, and people will apply directly to them for those funds. That's the plan we're doing. Now, I said on the back of your memo kind of the rules that we use to govern the program we used to have. Technically, the program no longer is required to be exactly this, so if you have recommendations or thoughts, we can ask them to revise. I just wanted to mention that's the way it had always been done here. The other thing that could be really helpful with this is that as the county is allowed to fund this, but can't help individuals, as we start doing other infrastructure expansion projects across the county, SOCRES and other things, we know that there will be folks who ultimately may need a little bit of help just to connect, right? And a program like this could be our way to help potentially fund some of those individuals in the future. Again, this is a one-time $50,000 from an account that the money is sitting in.
The only question I had about it is, you're asking to move 50,000, but the balance was 69. So that's the difference.
So what we need, that was more than that a couple of years ago. We're still allowed to use it for things counties need. So say, for example, we need an engineer to look at something that specifically is in this world. The county's allowed to hire an engineer. We just can't assist an individual. So that remainder money, as you said, is there for us to use for things like that come along with SOCRES or other infrastructure projects.
So if someone defaults on the loan, what's the recourse? Is that county that would have to do that, or the?
No, great question. Once the movie or the money is moved from us, we actually no longer have the authority to direct it or really any responsibility to it. It would be the nonprofit's responsibility. I would encourage them, honestly, as much as a revolving loan does help, because when it does come back in, it comes in so slow. At $25, $50 a month, it really is not. I would encourage them to do an actual grant, not do a loan program, do a grant program. It costs about between $3,000 and $4,000 to hook up one of these laterals. We always required a 10% local participation, and I would encourage them to do that as well. But they will spend through this. I don't think there's any doubt that the money will go probably in the next year. But I will say there's one very specific home that is pushing all this through up in the Schuylkill area, where this family is going to lose their home if they cannot get this done. So it really has motivated us to get this accomplished.
Yeah, will the Schuylkill Housing Development Council have a auditing requirements back to us to show us how and when the money was
That's a great question. And now because they are a nonprofit, they have an auditing responsibility regardless. I think that we could, I don't know if we're allowed to put a responsibility in there in sort of clawback language, so I think then we're still directing the money. I can talk to Rich about that. But at least an accountability of how to utilize it. I'm sure they can go for the lowest and we could ask them.
So once this money runs out, is there any way of replenishing it from somewhere?
Well, they will, once they've got this program up and running, they have the ability to apply for additional funds. As a nonprofit, they have the right to do it, similar to the way we do as a county. And actually, I would argue it's probably a little more appropriate to do it. That is their mission. They're experts in it. So the hope would be they would continue to show that there was a need, and then that would give them an ability to apply for money showing that there's a need. The county could potentially also support additionally in the future if we thought it made sense.
Great, it's not much money.
Yes.
Who chooses the contractor?
So that is a partnership. I'll tell you the way it's been done with us. And that's how I'll recommend that to them as well, is that there is a procurement process to make sure you can get at least 3 estimates, make sure that you get one that is appropriate but also reasonable. That's typically how it works.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. I guess we're on EP6. This is a resolution creating one position in the Planning and Community Development Office, which would be a telecommunications program administrator. And I believe this has to do with the broadband project, having to get it done and get it done quickly. Do we have?
Paul's got it first, I got second.
Oh, didn't even hear you. Thank you.
Okay, so if it's okay, I'll also give a little broadband update here because I think it's important to this conversation. So just this week, in one of our, I think, 5 meetings with the state, we have, I would say we've trimmed down the project to exactly what we think it's going to be finalized. We're waiting for the response from the state in writing, but we've got a verbal agreement. Essentially what we're at is, all you know, it is now April, so tomorrow's April. The project has to be completed and reimbursed by the end of this year. So we've kind of moved to a phasing method, right? Instead of being 345 miles, which was our original plan 2 years ago, the incredible cost increases. We're seeing 8, 10, 12 times increases in the cost to do these projects across the state. And not just cost increases for the timing. There's only so many companies do these things, and now they're being pulled 16 ways, which is the number of projects in our state. So with all that in mind, knowing that this has to get done or the state doesn't get their money from the feds, which they don't get it to us, we have scoped this project back to the point where we can definitely guarantee this project will be completed. So we're looking at what is called a middle market or essentially a highway, a loop, right? That's going to be our backbone. This is our backbone. And it will middle mile backbone. And this will allow us to have something in place, ready to go, that we can then build off of for phase 2, phase 3. We'll have all the infrastructure needs we have, plus we'll have about 3,000 to 4,000 homes on the loop that we're going to address. So as part of this project, and I think I told you all last month, and still has not, we have not lit a single home. We have not run a single piece of wire yet. But we're getting really close. One of the requirements that we have to do is that we have to oversee the installation of the line on the pole, times 8,000. So one of the things that we're looking to do, and the state will pay for this completely this year, is bring in somebody who will supervise and oversee. Essentially, they're going to be our county genius who knows this stuff, has done it for their life, and they can come in and run the program. In addition to that, the county is required to own this for at least 10 years. And this is county-owned infrastructure, which means there is a maintenance requirement and also an oversight responsibility that we as a county will have for this. Now, the good, that sounds all a little scary because we're all like, oh, 10 years of expenses. The good news is that we also will have a very marketable asset. This is something that we expect with the expansions of the nuke plants and all the other business expansions, that people are going to want to use this. I mean, think about it as if we owned a highway that other people want to get on. Well, there's a rental process that we can allow. More than half the bundle, if you think about the cables, there's 128 lines in it. More than half of those are going to be what they call dark fiber. They're empty. We can utilize those and rent those lanes out for traffic to come through. And so we're working with an expert who ran the program from Dank, and he has said that there is absolutely no doubt in his mind that we will substantially make more money back to cover the costs of having some staff and some maintenance for at least the next 10 years, again, which is mandated. So we are looking at bringing in a gentleman who worked for 20 plus years with Verizon. He knows this stuff. This is his experience. He's a county resident. And this position, like I said, will be paid for the first year through the grant completely, all benefits and everything. And going forward, the expectation is that position will be covered completely through the revenue from this network. They also will be tasked with making sure that they help with the expansion of this network. How do we put together a plan that is going to build out to those other communities that we wanted to build out to? And that will be their responsibility.
Ron?
You mentioned that this person will be the county genius. I thought that was you.
No, sir. Absolutely not.
I just got to say, I know
I could attest to
anybody who has a chance to talk to Tim now and then after he's got off of one of these multiple crazy meetings he's been going through, he's pulling what little hair he has out.
Hey.
I didn't say it was receding. It's just short.
All I got going for me right now.
So he has. It's amazing what he is. If we pull this off, it's because of Tim and
Kyle.
His work.
Kyle's done an amazing job too.
So I give you guys a lot of credit.
Thank you.
I just want to say that.
Anybody else?
There's a couple questions. So how will this person's job description change? Because this is all about procurement and oversight right now.
Right. So this is what we have to get done this year. Like this is right. I think it absolutely makes sense that once the network is built, that some of the focus will have to change, but there will be an expansion of that network that is required for this to be profitable, even to be sustainable, honestly. And that's why we're bringing in somebody who knows the industry, but also knows the nuts and bolts. So year one, without a doubt, it's going to be keep an eye on people, making sure they do what they need to do, the real detailed piece of completion of phase one. But this person's experience, the one I'm looking at for the hire for this, and we are bringing him on as a contractor immediately. So we're going to bring him on literally this week if we can, because we have to move. But the position will be created and transition into a position once you approve it, and once it's budgeted, we go through the formal process. But yes, I agree. It will need to, I would say, adapt to what the needs call for, and I think that's why this person is so crucial. They're kind of, I don't say unicorn, but they have the experience on the detail level, but also the bigger picture knowledge of what it looks like and how to kind of generate something sustainable down the road.
Anybody else? My only question about it is there any way it could be a temporary full-time, since it's not necessarily going over the 10 years?
I mean, I think it depends on the way
the
this.
sale law, keep it as a, temporaries are usually positions that will last less than a year.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else?
Is it a salary position?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah. Here. 72, 684.
No, I was waiting
No
for salary,
overtime.
not salary.
Oh, right.
Not overtime.
Yeah, it's expected this person's position will require a lot of time on the road, and so the thought of keeping track of all that. Thank you.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. EP 7. Resolution authorizing the transfer of 7 buses from Shenango County to Oswego County for the Office of Mobility Manager.
Move it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a little retroactive, but this is the 7 buses that were transferred on federal contract to Oswego County from Shenango. So this is to help while we're waiting for those new buses to be built in the factory. There was a lot of procurement issues during COVID that put us behind. So these buses will be tremendously.
And the cost is
$200 a bus. Yes, and all of them have passed DOT inspection, so they're eligible to be returned.
Any thoughts? Anybody? Questions?
So a question in terms of when they're retired, when you do have the new buses coming in, do you then have to sell them for $200, or is the county able to do whatever they want with them? I just didn't know if there was some requirement that you can't make money on them.
Yeah, there's thresholds. If we were to, for example, sell one of our retired buses, if it's over $5,000, we're required to pay back a certain portion to the federal government. However, whenever we get to that point to retire a bus, if it's not used for parts and we auction it off, typically they won't be auctioned for more than a couple $100. People
Okay.
won't buy them. They're pretty old at that point.
Sure. Okay.
What do we think? Do you want to pass this? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. EP8 is a resolution authorizing a sponsorship agreement for promotional services at the NASCAR Truck Series at Watkins Glen. I think in your packet everyone has pictures, so you're not passing anything out, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Did you
you
want
haven't
to-
seen the color in there, so if you want to pass it around,
Yeah, pass
it's
it
pretty
around.
impressive. I'll send it around.
And I was going to say, thank you, Ed.
Second.
Do we have a second? Let's let Tim talk first, if you would.
Sure.
We'll take questions.
Absolutely. So this is a really cool sponsorship opportunity. We've really done a lot like this. And I'll be totally upfront. I know a lot. I'm a big fisherman. I don't know anything about racing. When the person reached out to me and said, hey, we got this cool opportunity, I was kind of like, oh, I'll have to talk to people who know what they're doing here. And as soon as I kind of reached out to a number of folks who I know are NASCAR fans, they were like, this is a no-brainer. You have no idea. Hundreds of thousands of people watch this truck racing series. It would be incredible. And the race truck, the driver whose car we're getting, would be like the equivalent of getting like a Dale Earnhardt, who I do. But essentially, this person is the current Cup or race standings leader. So he has won throughout this year already. He won Daytona, which is the biggest race of the year. And when you're marketing or advertising on a car, a race, you want to make sure you have one in the front because nobody really cares about a car in the back, and you don't get to see your logo very often. So that is a picture of what our truck will look like with our county logo on it. We've got a really cool promotional program. We're working with the driver. They will come to Oswego. We will see this truck here. We're going to set up a whole kind of promotional blitz, and if anyone is interested in being part of that, let us know. We'll make sure everyone knows when it is, where it is.
I mean, I get to drive it.
I don't know if you get to drive it. I doubt that. I'm not sure what the insurance would look like that, but I know that you can afford it. So anyway, and the plan is to get the driver out on one of our local fishing boats to go out and do a kind of a video out on the lake, maybe getting fishing. And again, all this is for promotional piece. We really want to advertise how great Oswego is. So anyway, it's a really cool opportunity. The gentleman's name is Chandler Smith, but it is, like I said, it is May 7th at Watkins Glen. And I'll take any questions.
Okay, anyone have any thoughts on this?
So the dollars to pay for this promotion come from where?
That's a great question. They come directly from the fed tax revenue that we generate as a county. As a reminder, all the fed tax revenue that we generate is required to be reinvested into tourism driving activities like this.
Well,
So you've never done this before? Maybe Chris, you don't know.
Don't bring that. Don't speak that into the world.
I had to say. Tim's going to do a chargeback.
Start finish line on TV.
Yes.
Right there.
There you go. Dude.
I mean, depending how exciting it is.
I'm sure Rich will be looking at the contract.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty exciting, huh?
I gotta say, it's pretty innovative. I hope it pays off. I hope he wins the race, and it'll really get your money's worth.
Yeah, we kind of did it, again, it's a little bit new, and we do a lot. I mean, I think I presented a few times, kind of what our roster looks like, our annual roster, but we do look for items like this, and we picked up a couple really cool things. We did the Viewpoint program last year, which again was able to give us a lot more sight throughout the county, or the country. This is still a little more direct. These folks that are being Watkins Glen, it's definitely a one-day trip up to get up here.
Where are you thinking of bringing the truck to have people be able to see it?
Well, we only have a handful of hours. So the thought would be if we're going to launch for a fishing trip, it'd be somewhere here in Oswego City, probably maybe one of the county buildings, maybe somewhere where there's enough place for people to come in.
A weekend or a weekday?
I believe it would be weekdays. They race on Friday. So I think we'll have it here on Thursday.
I'm just thinking there might, it's a thing that kids would like to come out and see too, or
For sure.
What about the Speedway?
yeah, let them do a couple laps.
Oh gosh, Magic crashes up there.
I just want to bring up, is there any opportunity, I know it's probably not related to this, but something to be done separately, if the county is going to have this logo on this race car, could the county also send a team to Watkins Glen the same weekend to have some sort of a booth or tent or something set up so you can have some cross-promotional things? I just think it's a great opportunity, and if you do it, you should really do that too. I think really get your money's worth out of it, because you're going to have 50, 60,000 people there that are probably wondering, what is Oswego County? And then have something else to let them know more information.
Right. Well, and especially because you could promote Super Dirt Freak as well.
Yeah.
Because it is coming back again, right?
Yeah. Well, whoops.
Well, and I will tell you, the county has also been working closer. So we've always kind of focused on the city of Oswego racetrack. We've done it more this year. We're working with both Riordan and Fulton as well. So we're really trying to kind of tie the county as a racing destination.
Mm-hmm.
Jim.
There you go. I'll just tell you for kind of background, my kids are real big race fans. They go to Watkins Glen. My oldest boy rents 5 campsites. It's a giant undertaking. But what they're more excited about when I show them this picture is quite often, it's not guaranteed, but quite often there'll be merchandise, hats and shirts with this on.
Yeah.
So it may be a possibility that there's T-shirts and what have you, Oswego County.
Or reason to have a tent.
Possibility.
Okay. All those in favor of this? Right.
All right.
Opposed? Passes. Great. It's very exciting. I don't know how you're going to measure the impact, though. That's the one thing. It's a good idea. EP8 is a resolution authorizing a sponsorship agreement for promotional services at, we already just did that, sorry.
Yep.
EP9, moving on. Oh, boy. Okay. Resolution authorizing a contract for immediate emergency channel dredging at Sandy Pond.
Move it.
Second.
All right, open for discussion. Who wants to speak on this?
I'll-
Tim, you got.
Okay, so we have been for years working on the issue in Sandy Pond. And I don't want to go into the whole background, but I'd be happy to talk to anybody who has questions about it. But for years, we've had issues with, and I wish I had a better picture. I should have brought one. But if you aren't familiar with the area, is it okay?
Yeah.
So if you're not, is everyone familiar with the area? I'll look into the back. Okay, so long story short, you've got an area, this beautiful area in Sandy Pond with a lot of marinas and slips, and people who rent the area who come in from Airbnbs, and they come in and they launch there, and then a lot of very expensive homes, very high tax base homes in our county. And the concern is that in that area, really one of two things. You've got a couple of tributaries that lead in, and there's one section where the water goes from the pond out to the lake. It's a very important section, because if that was gone, you'd have essentially accessible pond that didn't flush into the lake. We've got a number of aging septic systems up there in that area, and they just got water, municipal water. As you can imagine, municipal water with a septic system that's aging means you end up with some concerns. We are working with DEC, working with the state, got a whole lot of other partners coming in. The reason why this is an emergency is that when they went to dredge, so every year they have to dredge it. They go up there and pay a gentleman to get a truck, and they essentially kind of clear out that pathway to make sure that water flows out and that people can get in and out. Anyway, this year, for a number of reasons, they were not able to dredge as much as they historically have been able to. And when they completed it, they realized this is in jeopardy of closing, more now than ever before. So they reached out to us and said, essentially, we've only got a few days. There is a bird called the piping plover that lives up there, and he nests up there. And as soon as DEC says he's there, you are no longer allowed to dredge that area. And if it closes, because the bird has priority. It's just the way it works here. So anyway, we got word from them that it was coming up soon, and they needed to get in there, and they needed to dredge 3,500 cubic feet. So that was why it became an emergency. We did talk purchasing. We satisfied their requirements for the emergency purchasing, and then this funding would come through the tourism budget. So we are transferring funds to cover that bill to dredge it. We do believe that this will take care of the issue. We need a better long-term plan, and we are actively working on that. We've talked to NOAA, actually put a grant application into NOAA. We've worked with our federal partners as well. The only real long-term fix is some sort of a sewer system in that area. So we have tied that in with our infrastructure guru, his formal name, but Mark Lombardo has been working with them to talk about how do we ultimately come up with better wastewater treatment up there down the road. So anyway, emergency, this background's all here. I can get you more pictures. Also, I asked them for video of the dredging and what it looks like before and after. So I'll have some drone shots here before and after.
Chris?
So according to everything in here, it says everything has to be done by tomorrow, first.
Yes. It does need to be by general. Now, they do have the ability to inspect and verify that the plover's not there to get a couple extra days. They have a kind of a little bit of a window. The goal would be to have it all done by tomorrow, though. Yes.
And you've talked to the contractor about that?
Oh, yeah. He's texted me a bunch of pictures, so.
Just wanted to add, in addition to the septic and the academic base around there, the Southwest here with public safety vessels to get in that region. So that's another reason that channel's got to be put in.
So for those that aren't familiar with it, this beach area is extremely popular for some. Nicknamed the Boaters Beach. You can go up there on a weekend and there's literally 1,000 boats beached on the lakeside. There's fuel in this pond area, refuel boats. There's restaurants, huge to the economic vitality of the area. It behooves the county to keep this as a popular tourist site that it is. I'll be supporting this very strongly. Good.
So have anybody talked to the Army Corps of Engineers about a solution?
We have, and that would be the best one. They have told us that at best case scenario, that's a decade out. That essentially when you work with the Army Corps of Engineers, the project becomes their project. And so they have to put it into their roster of projects. You got it. So it is a conversation that has been had. We've had federal and state representatives on those calls that we've done. It's a substantial project. It would require a break wall, essentially a break wall out there, which could be concerning for some other numbers of issues, including the marine sanctuaries and other things. Conversation we've had with them, and when they asked about that, is because technically the area inside of there is not navigable waters. They think it's not navigable water. Yes, they have essentially said that it doesn't fall within their current requirements. The best case scenario would be to address the water influx inland with some sort of wastewater system, but then probably also a pretty substantial dredge. What has happened is they've never been able to remove everything all at once. And they're kind of band-aid fixes. If you remove small enough to keep enough to kind of sneak through, right? The real answer is to go in there and do a substantial dredge, which is what we've applied for. probably $6 million of dredging to actually clean everything out, get it back to factory specs, so to say. And then the hope would be once you clear it out once, back to the beginning, the rivers coming in will actually keep it open. The problem is that each year too much sediment has been accumulating, and it's just not enough power from those tributaries to clear it out completely. So our hope is, and what our grant application to NOAA was pay once, clear it out completely, and we should not have to worry about this maintenance dredging every year.
Yeah, because apparently there's an ongoing every year kind of, oh my God, it's an emergency.
Well, it never got to this point. I've been working on this probably almost a decade. It's never been to this point. When they called me and essentially said, it'll be closed, no emergency vessels coming through, no recreational, it was, and you're going to...
No safe haven from the lake.
Exactly.
And we're not completely funding this, correct?
No, they put in about 60,000 of it. We did about 35. And I will say we are actively working. So as you know, during my updates, I'll give you a short-term rental bed tax update. One of the things that we've been tasked with is to reinvest a substantial amount of those funds in the areas where they're collected. I will tell you more than half of our short-term rental income is going to be coming from the north and eastern portion of our county. So the ability to reinvest, we may want to be a little more active in this process in the future because so much of our bed tax revenue from that area will depend on it.
All those in favor of passing resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, on to reporting on departments. Last time we went reverse, so this time we'll go in order. That's okay. We'll mix it up next time. So, Austin?
Yeah, thank you. And I have an 11 o'clock, so I appreciate that. So I do have several things to report on, and happy to talk and answer any questions on any individually. So at Operation Oswego County's March board meeting, they formally adopted their 5-year strategic plan, calling it the 2030 plan. So it's sort of a little bit more than that, you know, in terms of the timing on it. The copies of that are going to be emailed to all legislators. We're just adding some pictures and color formatting right now to make it a more attractive document. It should be ready before the next CDP meeting. But all the content in terms of the priorities and, you know, the activities and everything, that has all been approved. So more to come on that. I am excited to announce that the Village of Mexico was awarded $4.5 million through the New York Forward Initiative. The local planning process will begin shortly on that. Mayor Grimshaw and I will be co-chairing the local planning committee. And I also want to state that Oswego County has been the most successful county in the 5 counties in central New York in getting their communities funded through this program. And that's, you know, a lot of efforts at the local level, but also other entities providing technical assistance via economic development, community development, and others to make sure that they have competitive applications. So we want to continue that and make sure that our communities continue to see that funding. So I've already talked to Roy about looking at Cleveland. I've talked to Noel about Hannibal, and I think that we've got some other really compelling communities out there that we can put together a great concept and plan to keep that money flowing to Oswego County. Other things, so the County Oswego Industrial Development Agency at their March meeting just last week updated their solar deviation policy to include battery energy storage systems. We are now starting to see these projects, so there were additional payments added to projects that will be coming through that will have that. We've also modified additional terms and benefits for these types of projects going forward, so more to come as we see more of those. I know some communities are also looking at doing some things on their own end, local laws related to, even some communities have done some moratoriums just to better understand. I know that the city of Oswego in particular has done moratoriums on battery energy storage systems to better understand from a safety perspective those. So, we're working together with those communities to make sure that our policies and their policies are consistent. Also, I'm excited to talk about there is a new indoor sports complex project that's being proposed for the former soccer dome, if those remember that, in the town of Scriba right off of 481. It's actually Rich Burritt. It's going to be a 130,000 square foot project at the 80 Dutch Rich Road in the town of Scriba, which was the site of the former soccer dome. Project includes the acquisition of the site, the renovation of an existing approximately 9,000 square foot existing building there, and the construction of a new 120,000 square foot indoor sports facility. This would be the largest facility in central New York for this. The project would include year-round space for multiple sporting events, training, and educational activities. Project at completion would create 16 full-time jobs and 13 part-time jobs. The project is estimated to have, and this is a very tentative cost. This is provided there's additional numbers coming in, but for phase one alone, it's about $3.7 million in construction costs. So we are, at this point, the IDA has only passed an initial resolution determining it as an eligible project and to schedule a public hearing. The project also is still going through the town of Scriba planning board process, so we're going to let that process play out before we sort of take our next steps. But so we'll be potentially seeing that project at our later April meeting, or potentially at a meeting in May. It really determines how that process plays out. But this is a Tim was talking about tourism and sort of the importance of the bed tax and other things. This would be a significant driver of that. This would attract tournaments from all across New York State, from soccer to lacrosse to other activities. They're going to have other sort of indoor sports training there year round. So it really would be an attraction, and would be bringing people into our hotels, as well as be significantly important for local youth sports as well. So it would be great for those things. So good project there.
Can I ask you a question? Is it
Sure.
going to be an actual building
Yes.
this time? Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be an actual building.
It's not a hot air
That's
balloon.
good to know.
Yeah, it's not going to be an inflatable balloon. No, it's not going to be a balloon. I think that's a great question, though.
Yeah.
No, we've been provided all the drawings for it. It's definitely, and it's a big building. I mean, the indoor sports complex is 500 feet by 240 feet. So think about the span on that. That's going to be some massive I-beams on that thing to pre-engineered building.
Well, and there's already an existing building there. That's pretty huge.
There's a smaller existing building, it's about 9,000, but there is a slab there that'll be reutilized. It'll be they're going to have to reinforce it. They're going to have to actually cut in to put new footers and everything in around it. But yeah, there's existing infrastructure and site work there that can be reutilized for this project. So, which is why they were able to save substantially on some of the costs. And it already has parking in place and everything else.
Well, on that one, will there be a pilot involved?
They have requested a pilot agreement. We have not discussed yet in terms of what the terms of that pilot agreement will be. So more to come on that. They've requested a pilot, which would include, potentially property tax abatement, sales tax exemptions related to the construction of the project. So,
thank you.
Yep.
And actually, Austin, if you don't, if I
Yeah.
could, so I was part of a committee that the city of Oswego did about 5 years ago, probably longer than that now, evaluating the need for something exactly like this. The city was considering building a substantial project because of the huge demand and the touristic draw that would happen in something like this. So I just want to put in a little plug just so everybody knows. This has been well studied. The demand is substantial, and the amount of people we expect to pull into this on a regular basis to be pretty incredible.
It would complement Legends Field as well.
My trips to Boston to see family, my grandchildren are involved with heavily in sports. These are prevalent in Boston. It's incredible the amount of kids and leagues for the local stuff, not just the tournaments that come in, but and these kids can play year round, soccer, baseball, tennis, basketball. Extremely popular.
Yeah.
Right now, our kids still do it, but they have to go beat up.
Yeah, I would say I go to Jones Road twice a
One is
weekend.
Jones Road.
Yeah, this facility will be 50% larger.
We were there after midnight a couple nights ago. They started at 10:30 p.m. That was when our game started.
Okay, couple questions. So if you do a pilot, what's the length?
So typically for a project like this, we've seen, and I don't have a specific example of a project like this. We don't have one. I would expect them to ask for something probably in the 20-year length for a project like that, but it's to be determined. I think that ultimately the IDA board would look at the benefits of the project and determine what is appropriate for a project like that. But we're still waiting to hear from what the final request will be. So at this point, it's just determined that the project is eligible for a pilot agreement, and part of that is really to get a better understanding of the final costs. We've been provided preliminary costs. We need to see what the final costs are, because that will impact the value of the benefits at the end of the day. And, you know, we know what the job creation numbers are, but really need to know what that total project cost is.
Would that include building supplies?
That would include, it could include sales tax exemption related to the construction materials. It could include the property tax abatement, and it could include a mortgage recording tax exemption.
Okay, last question. Both
Yep.
still going to stay there?
What's that?
Will BOSI still be able to stay there?
They are talking with Rich right now. Currently, their lease goes through, I believe, goes through July. They've talked about, and I know this because we lease them a building in the industrial park down in Phoenix. There's been potential talk of potentially moving that program to there. And Rich has also talked to them about building another building on site for them. So I think that, you know, I think that they would like to make it coexist to the way they can. I think that ultimately they utilize all of that building, the existing 9,000 square foot building, and so unless they can really kind of consolidate that down to a much smaller space, I think they're going to have to eventually move out of that space. I mean, but it's not. I'm not directly in those conversations, but I do know that, you know, because they lease the 6,500 square foot building from us down the industrial park, they have at least looked at that as an option. Okay, I'll keep moving. So also at the IDA meeting last week, the IDA approved the authority to submit a Empire State Development Fast New York grant application for the former Miller Brewery site in Volney. That's the site that's comprised of both parcels owned by MLT Leasing, which is Mike Tormey, who bought both the former distribution facility side, the 800,000 square foot warehouse, and then he also bought from the county last year the ethanol plant side. But the IDA also owns the former wastewater treatment plant and then another 73 acres. So that site at one time was about 430 acres when it was Miller. And then what happened back in the early 2000s is it got split up as, the ethanol plant was developed, the warehouse was developed, and some of those other assets have sort of been fragmented over time. So we're submitting a grant to do a engineering study to look at how to best utilize all those assets and kind of either put them back together or determine what needs to be done with some of the, specifically on the infrastructure side. Like there's great electrical infrastructure there. However, they can only get so much power there. So some of it's looking at how can you get more power to that site? What can you do to improve the rail since it hasn't been utilized in 5 years since the ethanol plant closed down back in 2020. And also looking at just some of the other assets there, the road, the sewer, some of the other things as part of that. So we also need to do wetland delineation. So DEC, as of January 1st, 2025, pretty much said that any site, you're guilty until proven innocent now related to wetlands, is that you have a wetland until you prove you don't. And so, you need to do wetland delineations on any undeveloped property down there to be able to confirm with that it's buildable. So that's another part of the project. So ultimately, we are at this point just getting, it's a pre-application to move forward. And from there, we would put in a full application and determine what we could get. So the state could approve up to $500,000 for a study. However, one, we don't think we need that much, and two, we need to determine what the state is willing to do related to this project. So that's looking to move forward. That's great because that's one of our, probably our top three, strategic sites in the county in terms of. There's not a lot of other sites that have that much infrastructure and that much building in a location that's already there. So, high priority. I know this went out to the legislators back earlier in March, but just want to put it back on your radar again. And I know some have reached out to me. The Mohawk Valley Brownfields Developer Summit is April 21st to 22nd in Herkimer, New York. We will be participating. I'll be moderating a panel on how to attract developers, as well as participating in other events that are there. We're going to have information on multiple brownfield sites in Oswego County that have redevelopment opportunities. I know that Legislator Novak brought up specifically, hey, I can't make it. Can you bring back information on it? We'll have a memo. We'll have other information on it as we come back. I do know there are other legislators that have RSVP for it, as well as other elected officials from Oswego County. So it's great that we're going to have people go to this and see how we can take some of these sites that are ripe for development and get them back on track.
Is one date better than the other?
So I'm presenting on the 22nd,
Okay.
But there are other really good ones on the 21st. So, I think that it's what I can do is the agenda is just about finalized. I can forward that around, and if people want to take a look and say, hey, I'm interested in that or this, It's a little bit easier for you, Roy. You're about halfway there already. So other people, it might be a good almost 2 hours to get there, an hour and a half to get there.
Plus I have a brownfield.
Yeah. So for us, it's maybe 40 minutes to get there. So let's see here. There's another event that's actually happening on the day before, on the 20th, which is the Planning for Growth that's being put together by Tug Hill Commission. That is at Turning Stone. That's also being co-sponsored. There's two co-sponsors here in Oswego County, Operation Oswego County and SUNY Oswego, as well as other counties within their territory. That's really, and that's about, how do local communities plan for growth when you have these major opportunities coming. So, between Micron and then over in the eastern end of the Tug Hill area, they have the Chobani project out there. That's $1 billion project happening. So we have these multiple things happening at the same time, and how do we sort of plan best for, what comes of it? Because there's going to be development if we want it or not. How do we do it in a way that's going to be compatible with the community and people don't have a bad taste in their mouth at the end of it? So that's on April 20th at Turning Stone. We'll be sending some stuff on around for that if people do want to attend. It's open to the public for that. And we want to see especially local elected officials at that event. Just other really quick things. So just on Friday, actually, and I don't know if you were going to say this, Rachel, so I apologize in advance if you were, but we had a event where Leadership of Oswego County, actually, over at Novellis, Rachel's office, my office, and Tim's office, actually, Dan was there, and we were presenting to Leadership of Oswego County on economic development, community development, and workforce development. So, we work together on a lot of things, but that's just one of those examples where we kind of all come together and talk about these things and why they're all sort of intermingled and intertwined. Daldrop SBB, that is the German-owned clean room manufacturing company. They are having their ribbon cutting for the event opening on April 27th. There will be invitations sent out to county legislators very soon on that. So we'll be having that, and then we'll also be having a groundbreaking ceremony for the industrial park expansion slated for May. Date hasn't been selected yet, but we're trying to wait for the ground to firm up a little bit since we're going to be on sort of virgin soil there where that's going to be torn up, so I don't want to have people standing in the mud. But that'll be in May related to that, and that'll be a project that'll take about 1.5 years. It's slated to finish up in fall of 2027 for the industrial park expansion. But Daldrop is, the building's built, and they're now just, they're filling it with equipment, and excited to get people out there to see that. It is a very, I will say, is a very modern and innovative manufacturing facility. It's going to be very cool for people to get out there and see that. It's not your, what's that?
Where is it?
It's down the industrial park in Screwville. So they built a brand new cutting edge manufacturing facility in the industrial park. And then just the last two things I wanted to say. So we've been working together with the Village of Phoenix, the Town of Screwville, Oswego County, and the IDA for several years. We actually have a existing intermunicipal agreement related to the wastewater treatment plant for the growth of the industrial park, as well as the surrounding area down there related to growth of Micron. We are all working on a revised intermunicipal agreement right now. At our meeting last week, the IDA provided authority to me to sign the new revised IMA, and we anticipate that all other partners will be signing that this month or in the next, over the next month. And then lastly, the Oswego County Microenterprise Program is moving forward. I know I presented last month that we were awarded the funding on that, which was exciting. That was through Housing Community Renewal, $300,000. We are now finalizing the training program that's going to be associated with that, because it's not just a grant, you have to go through a microenterprise training program to be eligible. So small businesses between 1 to 5 people will be eligible for grants up to $35,000, between $5,000 and $35,000, to grow their small businesses in Oswego County. As I said before, we are trying to focus the dollars. So this is a program that has been run multiple times through the City of Oswego and the City of Fulton, but this is the first time we've had this program at the county level. So the county was the one who officially applied for the program. It'll be administered by Operation Oswego County, and we're going to try to focus those dollars into the rural communities. It's not going to be all in rural communities. It'll be both in the cities and rural communities. But because those rural communities really don't have the infrastructure to have their own program, we're going to try to get that while also working with our partners at the city, at both cities, to also recapitalize their programs as well. So good stuff going on all around. Happy to talk about any of them in particular.
Thank you.
Austin, what was the name of the April 20th event? I want to.
It's called Planning for Growth, and it's the group putting it together is Telco Commission. They actually have one of the elected officials who was the town supervisor for the town right next to Malta out in Saratoga County. So when Global Foundries built out there, the impacts that it had on the surrounding communities, and so they had that town supervisor, and sort of he's going to be one of the main speakers to come and talk about what that meant to them. Because you can think, oh well, this is a clay project. It's not just a clay project. It's going to have significant impacts on all the other local communities. And so we wanted to have people come and talk about their direct experience of how big projects like that impacted them, but others as well. Roy, I'll send you the information on that.
Okay. I think I already got it, but I want to make sure I invite the town of Constantia.
Yep.
Because they're working on planning right now.
Yeah, I think it's important for sure.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and.
Yeah, just a comment. You mentioned early on the success of some of these funding in Oswego County. And I just want to acknowledge that your staff and your personal involvement at these, in person, at these communities has made a huge difference in getting them motivated to get the paperwork in. So my hats off to you and your staff.
Thank you. I will also say, so I sit on the Central New York Regional Economic Development Council, and I'm on the group that ultimately decides the projects that move forward. So I have to be a little careful in terms of how much I can be directly involved if I'm also then being the one scoring and judging. But we've done a good job of advocating and making sure that our communities get our representative bring home the bacon, I guess, in terms of
Kevin's pretty active.
Yeah, and Nate as well. Nate's been very good on those. So.
Rachel, what do you have for us regarding workforce development?
I have quite a bit. I did submit proclamation for this upcoming legislative meeting for National Apprenticeship Week, which is happening April 26th through May 2nd. We actually had a meeting yesterday to kind of really list out what we've got going on that week. So we will have our Swiggleville graduation will be held that week. And we also have our spring job fair is also that week. And then there is a trades fair at AW High School is also that week. So some good events, and then we're going to do a lot of social media out to the public for that week as well, just to draw attention to apprenticeships. We do have this week, today is day 2 of 4 of our Energy Industry Career Development Program for high school students that are on spring break. They got bumped to spring break because they have to be 18 according to the state and in school, which limits. But we did end up with 7 students. 6 of them are actually from Oswego High School and 1 from Central Square. They are getting their energy industry fundamentals training, so they have access to the free curriculum. They're having 2 or 3 sessions for about an hour or 2 each day. And then they'll have access to it. It is a 120-hour curriculum, so they can't do it all, but they'll have access to it afterwards. They're also getting different soft skills training and activities that our staff have put together that are still kind of related to the energy industry in some sort. Yesterday we had an individual from NYSERDA came and did a presentation on different opportunities, and ones that only required high school diploma and ones that required college degrees. So the different opportunities for there. Today, we do have National Grid coming to present, and then tomorrow Constellation will be at the office. The students are earning, if they stay all day, they're getting a $100 gift card at the end of the day. So they can get up to 4 of those. There's snacks, so they can come with breakfast. They're getting lunch, and we're letting them choose what they want for lunch with only 7 of them. They wanted pepperoni pizza yesterday. Today they want tacos, so we'll see. But on day 4, on Thursday, the curriculum and the program will be done, but they come in and take their 3 assessments to earn their National Career Readiness credentials. So they'll come out with just a certificate of completion that they did the program, and then they'll have their credential. We are going to look at the end of the week. So this was funding from New York State for renewable energy transition training. We have a budget of around $36,000. We did buy Chromebooks for this as well to be able to offer this to the students. So we're going to see where our budget is and see if we do this one more time before the money has to be expended. by the end of June. And if we do that, we'll probably target college students because it has to be somebody enrolled in school from 18 to 24, and it can be enrolled in a college program. So more to come on that, but the kids all seemed really interested yesterday and they were really engaged, so that was awesome. We are in planning stages for a summer youth employment program. We have begun advertising to get counselors. We need 3 counselors right now for our program. We do have our lead counselor, program manager is returning, but none of our counselors are. So we need 3 of those. If anyone knows anybody that's got a couple of years of knowledge under their belt and wants to come do that. We also have talked to the Youth Bureau and will be monetarily supporting them to hire a counselor or 2 so then we can put a group of kids on Camp Hollis to work. And those kids might travel around to Independence Trail and whatnot. That's up to the Youth Bureau. But the money's coming from the state because SYP is in the state budget, so no worries there. We were granted, I just got the letter the other day, for transportation initiative. This comes every year from OTDA. It does come through DSS. So it will be coming through a resolution next month with DSS. It's just over $19,000. It does get contracted to us to be able to help individuals with transportation costs. And actually we have a lot of it spent because we do the program with county funding that's in the budget, but if the folks are 200% poverty line eligible, we can backtrack to January 1st with this funding. So it's actually mostly spent already, which is good.
Question about that. That's with their own vehicles, isn't it? Help with their own vehicles?
Yes.
Where you can fix them.
Yep. It's repair up to $3,000 to their own vehicles or new tires or registration. But the stipulation is they have to be low income, 200% poverty level. So they have to have minor children in the household. They also have to be working a minimum of 30 hours a week and have to show pay stubs on that. So it's keeping work retention. Yep. There's also stipulations with the value of the vehicle. The value of the vehicle. So,
yeah,
you know, we're not going to fix something that's just going to come back and you have to fix it again. So that will be coming next month. And then my last thing, I just had a meeting last week with CNY Works, which is Onondaga County Workforce Development Board, and Cayuga Works, which is the career center that we are merged with Cayuga County. Our board will also be overseeing, and Cayuga Community College and Cornell Cooperative Extension for a New York State Agricultural and Food Processing Grant that is out. It is to the end of April. So what was proposed, and we actually had Cayuga Milk was on the call as just one industry representative, but what we're looking is that the advanced manufacturing micro-credentials that are already available at Cayuga Community College in Auburn and Fulton, if that can be adapted to help food processing companies throughout the Through County region. And we think we have a pretty easy lift of that. The grant is $50,000 to $500,000 over a 3-year period, and with having a 3-county region that we'd be applying with, having Cornell Cooperative Extension as the applicant and the rest of us subcontracting, there is a 20% match to the grant, but spread across the 3 counties shouldn't be too much on our supportive services side of it for them. But we're hoping, this is something we don't normally see out of Department of Ag, but we will be sending out letters for letters of support to industries across all 3 counties. So still working out the final details, but the idea is to get some training. Because Cayuga Milk was very active. They have a hard time finding people, but we figured if we can get Burn Dairy and Upstate, and I've already talked with Eric Beeling with the orchard and what they could do, and so there's definitely some synergy there. So who else we can
Yeah, this is definitely coming on Cayuga Milk. I've been out to their plant.
I get to go in 2 weeks.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
When I was at NISAC, the Chobani down in Oneida County, it's mind-boggling. I don't know how day. That's like 1 million gallons a day of how much product they're going to be bringing into there. I've seen the blueprints on the plant itself, and basically they're going to have their own roundabout off of the main highway. I can't imagine, because I think your trucks today with milk only haul 9,000 gallons. That's on a tri-axle or a quad axle. I just, I was watching this presentation from our buddy there in Oneida County. It was just mind-boggling.
It's 125 trucks a day.
125
trucks a
Keep
day.
going.
Well, to get to 1 million
Yeah,
gallons.
they're looking at least 300 trucks a day. Going
That's
in,
hauling in. You gotta
going
haul
in
out.
and coming out. So this processing, yeah, that's good timing.
Well, and we looked at it, so it was a conversation between myself and Cuba County initially, but then when we started thinking about the companies, we're like, we need bird dairy, we need a Grana Fruits, because they're supplying Chobani, but they're all in Onondaga County.
Right.
We said, okay, but the schooling is then in Cayuga and Oswego County, so let's bring Onondaga County into this, and we think it's just going to help get more funding
They
able
definitely-
to.
We're definitely going to need.
Just for anybody who's interested, the National Career Readiness Certificate programs, and learn anything more about it, just go to you can Google ACT Oswego for Oswego County, and you'll get our page. You can see what businesses are participating. You can see the numbers of people that have taken the tests and passed, and it's just interesting to look at. You can learn a little bit more about what the whole program does.
And actually, my staff is working on a presentation to be able to get to the school, so then the schools can present in kind of 2 versions, one to the students and then one to teachers, so that they've got all a cohesive language that's going out to all the school districts.
And how long was that? Like a half hour?
I don't know, we're just looking at it.
So if it's a half an hour, you can cut it down to 7 minutes, right?
Sure.
Just like he did.
you have anything
That
else?
would be good for us to know, I think.
Do you have anything else?
Nope.
Tim, are you going to do both tours?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it all right now. I have an 11 o'clock time, so I'm gonna have to get.
Okay.
So I'll be quick, but feel free to ask any of you.
You're never quick.
No. Listen, if Austin's able to keep under an hour, I should. All right. So, real quick, number 1, water agency, and this I'll touch on. Mark Lombardo's not able to be here today, but I do have his updates for the infrastructure. So, the water agency met for its first time last month, and next meeting is actually today here at the building. And that's again just discussing kind of how do we as a county focus on bigger picture infrastructure needs. Is an authority needed, a local development corporation? How do we work SOCRs? How do we tie it in with other communities? So again, those meetings are going on. That board will be here this afternoon. It is at 11? No. Today, 3 o'clock here in this building, in this room. Quick update on the Phoenix Scruple project we've been talking about, the wastewater. That is ongoing. I think Austin touched on it a little bit here. Hope to have that completed very shortly. See. SOCRs project. We have a bunch of meetings in the towns and villages that are affected by the SOCRs project with our comprehensive plan consultants, EER. We met in West Monroe, Hastings, Scruple, and County Constantia this last month. We've got a couple more scheduled coming up shortly with Central Square and Green. Boom, sorry. So SOCRs project moving forward. Yes.
Can I just want to speak on the SOCRs thing? I've seen a lot of people out there that are like saying a lot of miscommunication, like the county's taking property. Like there was a good story on Syracuse.com about that the county is doing the line, but there was the heading was a little misleading, saying the county is opening 30,000 acres, and people assumed it meant that the county was either taking property or selling their own property, and that's not the truth at all. It's just the line is going to go through 25 miles of community, and then allow those communities, if they so choose, to have access to sewer capacity. So I just want to put out there, if anybody says anything, brings it up, try to say stuff, because what happens when these things run wild like this is perception becomes reality in the end. And I don't want to see the project negatively impacted because people on social media are just filling in the blanks of what they know with
That's a great point. And
Their
we
worst
are,
case
between Austin,
assumptions.
myself, and Mark Lombardo, we're going to be putting together kind of an FAQ or a answer point to that, because I think it is important. We're going to need a lot of funding from the state, which means we're going to need people to support it. So again, why we're really going out and making sure the information is out there. Misinformation can really hurt that. We want to make sure people understand, the county, like you said, doesn't own all this property. We're not, going to take it. We're not, nothing like that. It's just working with those communities to make sure that the development that comes from infrastructure is aligns with the goals of those communities.
And those places still need to create their own local sewer districts to connect. So it's not, the county isn't taking away or controlling from above.
Jim had something?
I would just add that the county's role in this is more of an effect like a wholesaler to the villages and towns that are on that line. But it also has been at least 4 years, possibly 5, that this project's been discussed in the town of Constantia, and we're going to be intimately involved with those discussions and stuff and others. Hastings, West Monroe, there's been 100 media notifications on this for at least 4 years.
I think it's the first time I hit Syracuse.com, which is why it showed up.
The only one you read.
But, I agree, because I saw something online where people were talking about where the county was going to take property by eminent domain, and I think any legislator that is along the scruple line could go to town meetings and just say that's just absolutely ridiculous and false.
Yeah, the exciting part is that because we own a 95-foot right-of-way that runs 20 miles, 20 plus miles, we don't do any of that. We already own them. I mean, it's really an incredible opportunity. So thank you.
We're facilitating.
Correct.
It was a misleading article.
Yeah, at least the heading was, and because it was behind a paywall, a lot of folks didn't get the chance to read it a lot. So
We had to take also.
So we are going to put together a kind of a response piece that can be shared from we're going to have a SOFRS website working on that, so we'll spread it out. So, all right, then those are the updates there, and then we do have. I want to do thanks to Ryan. He did put in a $12 million request in his budget directly in partnership with Senator Will Barclay to fund some year one study work that needs to get done for SOFRS. So, like I said, it's a $120 million project, but this is the necessary first year. Those are future year expenses. So we hope that the governor does include that and the budget does show that. It's not like a grant. This is just money that gets spent on the budget. A couple other things, but we'll stick to that for now. Broadband updates. I talked a little bit about it earlier. One thing I did want to mention is kind of a cool change that happened just recently, is that the state is considering wireless service as being serving the community. Originally, when we first did this project, they did not. Wireless was not acceptable. But technology has advanced even the last few years enough where they're able to, the up and down speeds are sufficient to be honestly better than what we're probably getting from Time Warner Spectrum coax right now, and will satisfy the FCC's requirements. That's great for us because we have a lot of more rural areas that could be served with a wireless infrastructure that's substantially more expensive to run down 2 miles of back roads on poles to hook up a house.
Right.
A lot easier to put something on one of the poles we already own, work with 911, to be able to serve them directly. Substantially cheaper and would allow money from the state, again, that's been this year, to spend quicker and serve more. So stay tuned on that. That's exciting news. That it just
So will those wireless units tie into this broadband cable?
Yes, the thought would be that our cable would run to our tower, and then our tower would be directly into support those communities. Yeah, for the north and the east, and even the Hamilton Pacific, there are some really great benefits. Well, a lot of people talk in the northeast, not realizing that obviously the infrastructure needs in like Handle and some of the Granby area there, Granby area. So anyway, we're working with a company that could potentially partner with that to serve more than just that little backbone, that under-mile backbone. Short-term rentals. I did talk a little bit about that. As you know, we do have a registry of law that our law requires every short-term rental to sign up for. We have 2 signed up today. So we are working on why that is so tricky, and really it's the communication, not just communication, but the understanding that it is required, right? We're working with Airbnb and Vrbo to add in a required field when someone goes in to sign up that would require them to put in the county registration number. They would not be able to transact in our county. That will be a huge benefit. Once people have to do that, they're going to have to reach out to us. And we made it incredibly cheap, $50 for every 2-year registration fee. It's cheaper than almost every other county. We really want to make it affordable for our community. Again, this is separate from the taxation. This is not the bed tax. This is just the requirement they sign up for a registry. We are working on that. So stay tuned on that. We're really hoping to be able to find a way to get more people understanding that this is an active law and they have to do it. With that in mind, we're partnering with a company to utilize some of the funds that we are receiving to acquire a listing of all the addresses of all short-term rentals in our county. And that will allow us to directly target them and reach out to them directly. So we're working on that. That should be done by next month.
Austin, did you have something?
I was just gonna, and I don't know if you have an answer on this, but just to make sure that Airbnb and VRBO doesn't just let them put 9999 in for a number, and like they satisfied their need to put something in the field. That you guys have some sort of way on your end to make sure.
People wouldn't have known about that if you didn't just say.
I know. I'm just, like I said, I mean, if and then they just say, hey, they gave us a number. I mean, what are we supposed to do?
We're working through a plan for that.
Okay. Because they haven't been super helpful and responsive so far in making this a requirement.
Chris, did you have
So the money for the business that you're talking, that comes from their tax?
Yeah, ultimately, well, it'll come through the registration fees. Is the plan.
Okay.
So that $50 times about 600 homes that we expect should be about $30,000 every 2 years of registration fees. Thought would be a service like this, we would use the fund.
Yeah.
Now, because we needed it ahead of time, we would essentially pay for it through a tourism fund, but we thought we'd reimburse that as the registration fees.
That program was very good. Nice thing.
Yes. And we anticipate that is probably the needed step. We hope people would just see the bunch of press releases and think, oh, I should do this. But the reality is, the two who did it, I give them a lot of credit. Okay. This is Fair Housing Month. I mentioned to you, I just want to, we will do a proclamation, but also we have a fair housing training that is at the public library that we're doing Tuesday, April 7th, from 2 to 3:30. It's free. And if you're interested, we have more information on that. You can flyer on right here. And then the last thing I really have is, so Austin talked about the CDBG program that county's working with him on, with the County on. It is that mini grant program. Just as a note to the committee, we may need to walk on a resolution. We're waiting from the state on the timing requirements. We had information we needed from them that they didn't get to us in time. I believe we can wait till next month, but if not, you may see it again. Apologize for that. We're working with them on timing. So very, very simple. Essentially just authorizing a contract between us and Austin's company to do the work. They may require it before we sign the contract. So we can do that. Other than that, I don't know if there's any other questions, but let me get you a tourism update. I apologize. So we had a number of folks that attended the Adirondack Sports Summer Expo in Saratoga. That's every year really, really exciting. A lot of fishermen, a lot of hunters. We try and make sure we get our information to them. We had 3 spring open houses that we're working in City Oswego on, to make sure people understand who are coming here from, we had a bus from Queens come in, right? So we're really trying to get these folks to understand what other cool things are happening in Oswego County, that they can encourage their kids to do, that they can do when they're up here visiting. Some of these folks do have a lot of disposable income and may be here for a couple of days. Let's find a way to really get them to spread out and see it. We're doing our Amazon truck again. We actually had a lot of really good feedback. We did the PA Turnpike last year. It's a bunch of information that we have on the truck, right? Driving all in place all day, every day. We're going to be doing it in Boston this year. We'll switch it up a little bit and try the Boston area. So we'll keep an eye on kind of the response on that. And then lastly, and really excitingly, the county, we set up our first fishing advisory committee group. We had our 3rd meeting, but we've been actively coming up with working with the tour guides and with the fishing vessels and all that to say, what can we as a county do to support you? DEC has been attending these, so it's been a great opportunity for our fishing captains to reach directly to DEC. Well, what we just came out of it was they need some help. So we are sponsoring a Salmon River cleanup Saturday, April 11th, and I've got flyers if anybody's interested, at 8 a.m. Working with a lot of volunteer agencies, but we're going to be up there kind of cleaning up. So we'll have dumpsters working with our waste group here, and we are going to make sure that river is cleaned up. And it's a pretty exciting partnership with Sea Grant as well. We'll talk a little about Sea Grant, but they're our water agency we work with through SUNY Oswego. And the only other thing that I had is that, I don't think Austin mentioned it, but the Micron fund, they announced the funding awards that came out of the Micron fund. I know we've been talking about, was it $500 million that's going to be set aside over the next decade to spend in the community?
$500 million between Empire State Development and Micron.
So they announced $335.5 million in awards. Oswego County did have $1 million that was awarded to SUNY Oswego and $100,000 that was awarded to City BOCES. So we're working with them a little bit on kind of finding what other projects had applied and were not awarded, and seeing if there's something we as a county can do in Operation Oswego County, come aside and help out.
I will also say, so they mentioned 35 million, but 30 million was for one specific purpose. So it was really like 5.5 million of like actual dollars for itemized projects. So don't look at it like, whoa, we only got 1.5 out of 35. It was more like, or 1.1 out of about 5.5. So they put the 30 million into a housing fund for all of Central New York.
Anybody else? You gotta go. Last but not least, we have Heather.
Good morning. So I wanted to start. What? Oh yes. Kathy from the emergency management team is here. She's the director of emergency management, and Kathy and I had a meeting last week with superintendents from the school districts, different school district transportation departments, Centro, myself, emergency management personnel. Just to discuss some of the electric bus mandates that are coming down. The electric bus mandates aren't being mandated on public transit right now, but the school districts have a timeline on when their fleets have to be converted. And so Kathy's here just to give an update on kind of what we're doing to start working on that challenge.
Right. So just to give you a quick recap, because the piece of it is the mandate is that they stop buying diesel-powered buses in 2027 and be fully augmented by 2035. So this is effective for the school districts. So the school districts right now in the Oswego County District are trying to put waivers in place, primarily because they support the radiological program and we have evacuation procedures in place for that piece. So the electric mandate will most likely affect our ability for resources to travel back and forth out of the EPC to transfer people out of the EPC. So we are looking at data, but we don't have a lot on it yet because there hasn't been anybody in the school districts that have purchased them yet. They don't have infrastructure, but the waiver that they're putting in is just delaying the mandate though. So it's only giving them extra time. The mandate is still in place for 2035. So it's not changing the mandate, right? So it's just delaying their ability to get the equipment that they need to support that. And also some of that depends on the voting public, right? So Mexico School District has put in for 2 electric buses to start that process and the voters voted it down. So what we're kind of looking at is how can we help with that? They're looking to see if they can be omitted from the mandate in general because they support radiological counties with nuclear power plant. And looking forward to if this mandate continues and with the potential for new nuclear, will that increase our population? With Micron coming, will that increase some of the population? I mean, the evacuating public is for the 10-mile EPZ, so most likely the Micron piece might not fluctuate into the EPZ. It might be more on the outer skirts of the county, but still could bring more people in that are part of new nuclear living in the area. So our numbers could potentially go up. There isn't enough data yet to understand completely what the mandate or what electric buses can support, whether it's 200 hours of time, but having multiple buses trying to support, running multiple bus routes throughout the EPZ to get people out is definitely something that we're looking at. It's also something that we need to bring Constellation in for because they do what's called an evacuation time estimate. So based on conditions, they can estimate how long it would take to evacuate in public based on time of day, winter months, summer months, increasing population in the summer months. We generally have more tourism in the summer, so there's more population that's transient population. So we really need to look at that, but we wanted to bring this to you just to make you abreast of the situation and also potentially, if we can down the road, put in some type of resolution with the governor's office to say, this mandate is not going to work for those that support nuclear power plant evacuation plans. So we wanted to bring it here for your situational awareness, talk to maybe Phil about, what if NISAC has any opinions on that, but also I'll work with our counties to the west as well. I know Monroe County has a large population to a school bus that they're working on the mandate as well and trying to find ways around that. So I also have a New York State Power Pool meeting later in the month that's virtual. Generally NYSERDA attends that, and it might be a conversation in that rep world, radiological world, to say, hey, how is this mandate going to affect the potential evacuation process that we have? So just looking for some ideas how we can best move forward. We wanted to bring it to this committee, this is sports together, and how to bring it to public safety, because it is a public safety piece too. But trying to just gather some additional information. We don't have enough on the buses because we haven't put them in place yet, so we're trying to get some information from other counties or other, school transportation agencies that have started to implement it, and what have they seen. And also have to consider the fact that these electric buses also are heavier than a standard bus. So some of the bridges and stuff that they transport over might change their normal bus routes to school, which would increase the amount of time it takes just for their normal routes, let alone, our evacuation routes. So I know that's a lot of information, but that's what I got right now.
Paul, that's something?
I think this mandate's ridiculous.
I agree.
1, 2, it will happen in time, but it won't happen by the time the governor's office wants it to happen. Central Square Transportation was allowed to have 2 electric buses to see what they could do with them. We went to the farthest reaches of the district. It could be up in Maple Flats, Cleveland, up in there. They had 2 buses, sent the driver out. He did 1 route, they come back, he had less than a quarter of a charge left. Jumped in the other bus, did a secondary route. Was charging the first bus, he went and did that route. By the time, same scenario, had less than a quarter of a charge left on the bus. And the new bus, or the other bus from the primary district, didn't make it past half of the charge. And this was in September. They didn't need the heaters or the windshield. So, and I don't think, honestly, I might be a negative Nancy if you want to call it that, but like I said, this would work in cities, Buffalo, Rochester. It's not going to work in the outside sun. It just isn't going to happen. Not at the time restraint that they're putting that out.
And I think we met with Jeremy Belfield, who's the superintendent, and our office has agreements with all of the school districts within Oswego County to support personnel, resources, or facilities during all emergencies. But in particular for the radiological response plan, they would support bus transportation to get that first, generally we move students first for special facilities. So that's a quite resource draw right there alone, let alone bringing into an evacuation where we actually have to evacuate the public. So it draws a lot of resources, and this is why we practice it every June or October, just talking about like the resources that we would need based on the incidents. Now, generally, would we really ever need to evacuate the entire EPC? Most likely not. It's more so just certain areas within the EPC, or emergency response planning areas. So that's one thing to consider, but something that we need to look at. Jim?
Well, the interesting thing, expound on what Legislator House had mentioned in the Central Square School District, they won't be able to do the maintenance on the buses that the state requires because the lifts aren't powerful enough to lift the buses up. Problem 1. Problem 2, National Grid cannot supply the electricity needed to the bus garage to recharge the buses. It's just insane.
Because the infrastructure is not there?
They don't have the infrastructure.
I do want to make a comment. So the Regional Authority Central is the one who brought this into light. They are the ones who approached us and said, we need to talk about this. Central's facility, because they have natural gas infrastructure in the facility, that infrastructure can convert to hydrogen cell. They can convert their infrastructure to do that. But Central was awarded a grant about a year or 2 ago to procure electric vehicles. They had to pivot from that because their manufacturer basically stopped manufacturing them because of issues. So they had to go back and rescope their funding. So now in that grant, they purchased or are purchasing a bunch of natural gas buses instead of the electric buses through the same grant because they're not manufacturing them. So there's a bunch of issues on our side as well with transit, but it's definitely something we should just keep our eyes on.
There's definitely some research already out there that I was given from some state individuals that talks about some of the transportation vendors that are going bankrupt over the electric buses, but also aren't able to service the buses either, what they've done so far. So there is definitely a lot of issues within internally, not just paying for the buses and the infrastructure needed to support the bus mandate. But I'm hoping that something comes out of this because it starts next year. I mean, they're all applying for waivers. They're looking for information in all of our plans, our radiological plans that say that we require them in the hopes of gaining the waiver. But the waivers, the application, Mexico has applied for their waiver. But there's nothing in the waiver that really, it's just a question and answer. There's nowhere that they can put additional information that checks a box that says they have to be part of radiological response planning. And I know that that's something they're trying to use because it is important for us, but really it's important for any emergency where we would have to evacuate public, not just radiological.
Well, we're working closely. I'll just say, what's the next step? Do we need to do anything here?
Well, that's why we kind of wanted to bring it to you, but we weren't sure. We weren't sure that anyone would want to take a step forward with anything directly with the governor's office, only because of the potential of the governor really hasn't made any decisions on where they want to put the nuclear. So I didn't think he really want to rock the boat on that.
We
So
would like to wait. We would like to wait until
yeah, yeah. So but for your situational awareness, and if there's anything you can do on your end, with your just to talk through the mandate. I know there's been a lot of support for waivers of the mandate. Complete, like you said, deletion of the mandate, right? It's just not practical for any of the counties in New York State, especially.
Illusion of grandeur says if you put horse in front of the cart, not the cart in front of the horse.
And I mean, we all have different winners, right? So we all are going to have a different response to how how these electric buses are going to operate in the winter. I mean, we can't even guarantee what winter we're going to have anymore because it just keeps changing. But I mean, some other counties don't have the cold winters that we have, but I've seen us significantly have colder winters now than we've had, in probably 10 years. So it's going to be different. It's going to be a challenge for us, I think.
Because we'll look back to the questions of Florida.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Ed?
I'd love to see our Democratic caucus lead the charge and asking the governor
Yes, that's a great idea.
to reverse his mandate.
Chris, what is the
I think it would need more coming from the
pipeline?
Democratic Party.
What is the appropriate pipeline for that?
And I mean, I know the school district is working with Chris Bryan's
Yes,
office.
they are working, they
Yeah.
both, they are actively communicating with Chris Bryan.
Mhm.
And I believe he supports them.
Both sides of the Republican and Democrat, they're working on both sides just to bring that to light.
All right.
Yeah, we shouldn't feel like we're going to get penalized for trying to predict practicality. And, not to mention how much it's going to cost. For other school districts with property taxes are already so high and not, we're going to go on that. So anyway, we can continue to just tell the truth about it and put that forward and say this doesn't make sense. We do something more practical. Any way we can do that, it's better. It should be unanimous if we're able to do it.
Well, we're glad that you brought it to our attention.
Oh, thank you for this. Public safety experience. I'm trying to get through a couple more meetings to see where that's studying. So
I'm thinking, Heather, what else do you have?
I will be lighting quick with the rest of these updates, I swear.
We got till 11:30 now.
Don't tell them
We
that.
extended
Don't
the meeting
tell
just
them
for you. I gotta stay till 11:30 anyway, so let's go.
So I put a bug in Rachel's ear about this, but our last NIPTA newsletter mentions that there's going to be a grant coming down the pipeline called the Transit Equity Pilot Program. And this grant funding will be available for us to apply for new or expanded routes to connect people to major employers.
Nice.
So, yes. So I don't know exactly what the funding looks like. They don't have no release, but when it comes about, we will work closely together and figure out what we're going to pay in that. Yeah. I did want to mention, so today I have a central board meeting, and there's some information about their 2027 Better Bus project in Onondaga County. Why that matters to you guys is because in their plans to expand their fixed routes, they are also launching a new program in Onondaga County around the Micron area, around the Amazon facility called MOVE. MOVE is the same thing as our Access Oswego County service. It's demand response service that fills in the gaps of what their fixed route doesn't. So this essentially will provide a last mile connection for our residents to get to Micron as well as other places like Amazon. I've looked at the territory. You can see that MOVE will be operating in those areas according to their draft designs, but this would mean that we can connect our residents to a central bus. They can take that there instead of having to go all the way to the hub, get onto another bus to get to Amazon or to wherever they're working. They would be dropped off at a much closer location, and they would take the demand response bus directly to the job. So this was a little bit of a regional planning initiative where I'll be working closely with them to identify a hub where we can drop people off to connect to their Move bus. But Move will also collect data, just like our Access program collects data. If there's a high frequency of people going from one origin to one destination, it gives them authority to expand their coach route or create an additional shuttle service. So it's really good.
Will you be working with the businesses to make sure that the transportation comes to shift time?
Yeah, that's
always
another
an issue.
Yeah, I'll be bringing that up at committee. That's one thing is a lot of times I've had conversations with Central about the buses that come from our county to their county. They go there, but they don't get people there on time for their first shift. They get there 5 or 6 minutes late according to the bus schedule, and it's always been like that. So working with them to make sure that they're going to get there when the shift starts and when they need to be there. In your packets, the first couple pages of the packet is our last audit that we did. So we audit our vendor quarterly, where we do a physical ride-along, and we monitor different categories. So we take a look at if there's Title VI and ADA requirements posted in all of our buses. That's also required through the FTA, and we are in an FTA audit season. We'll have auditors here in June performing our triennial audit. So it's a big year for us. It always is during audit season. So there were a couple findings that we had with the driver. Nothing too major, but there were some outdated documents in some of the buses that we were on. One of the drivers went off route. So that's one thing that we noted and that I coached them on, is making sure that they're following the route and the directions. You'll see that there's backup data. So if you go to the second page, this is actually a screenshot from our VIA software system. So you can see there's sections in here that talk about when the client was picked up. I can tell that they were like right within the pickup time frame. So this is helping us monitor that the vendor is performing on time with the service. And then the last couple pages are just the physical forms that we use when we're on the bus to take notes when we're out. All of this is given to DOT when they come down here to do our federal audit. It shows them that we're taking an extra step to make sure that our vendor is following all of the federal guidelines.
So they don't know that that driver doesn't know they're being audited.
They don't know they're being audited. They know my face, so I started sending different people.
No wonder, of course.
Yeah, so yes, it's totally blind. We do it with fixed route and with demand response, so they never know which one we're going to be sitting on.
You should recruit some legislators to do that.
I hope to. That would be really fun.
Are you volunteering?
Of course.
Well, I can't blame them for rolling through the stop signs. I've done that occasionally.
Well, but we, that's not for a bus driver to do. Right? But we want to make sure we don't do that. As we grow services, we want to make sure that we grow our compliance as well in line with the services. And so one thing we realized is when we set up the app, we also set up an email for people to reach out to the county if there's any issues with the vendor. Not necessarily like updates for their trips or making changes, but if there's an actual issue or complaint. So we created a form. It's a fillable PDF as well, so we made it fully accessible, so you don't have to print it if you don't want to. But this gives us a way to document any complaints or comments that come in regarding our vendor, so that we can document and track everything for our audit process. I'd like to include the spreadsheet of this quarterly with our audit to make it more whole. It's just good for us to be able to know what's going on, and receiving that direct feedback is important to helping us. There's also some numbers in here just regarding our service. So this is from September to about February, so it doesn't include March numbers, but since we launched September 23rd, Access has done over 12,000 trips. There's been over 2,000 accounts created, and 76% of the rides are shared. So 76% of shared rides is extremely high threshold. Typically in other counties, VIA is only seeing 55% shared rides. So even though we're increasing our ridership, we're increasing the utilization of the buses. There's more people on shared bus than there is alone, right? We still are yielding pretty high rider reviews. We've had over 6,000 reviews, and we're still yielding a 4.9 out of 5 stars. That comes directly from the rider. That's just showing that they're doing a good job with that. And then the last metric I want to point out is just the growth. We've seen that the trips are increasing heavily from September to February. They were doing about 5,000 a month. We're doing about 7,000 now. There's quite a bit of trips coming in. I put our transportation resource binder. A lot of the legislators have been asking about how we do our outreach. I have 4 in-person outreach events this week alone. We're going into event season. We do resource binders, so if anybody would like a resource binder, they can sign up for one, and we will make sure that the facility has one. This is our seasonal services flyer. This goes in our resource binder. The reason why I put this in here is because we're entering seasonal service era, and there's quite a bit going on in our community, from farmers markets to the state fair and more. Granby did approach us again for assistance with their balloons under the moon, which was huge last year.
Larger than they
yes.
anticipated. And
Yes.
We've got a planning meeting scheduled with them to make sure that they hit all the emergency services pieces
Yes.
with that.
I know that they're going to be shutting down some streets and blocking some parking lots. They've asked for 3 buses this year from different locations, and so we're working on drafting up the routes. This is something that we're exploring. And then we do custom bus guides. I put this in here as well as just as a reminder. Our intern is currently creating these for every senior facility and every working class family facility in the county. So if they're struggling to read the central bus schedule, we can make something just for them. For example, we've done this for Towpath Towers. She identified all of the walkable areas nearby, so it shows them, hey, if you want to get your hair done, these are all the walkable locations. And then it shows just the central bus route for them to get to the medical center, or just to get to the grocery store, or just to get to their eye appointment and back. It takes the rest of the schedule out and just shows from their facility there and back to make it easier. So we do make those as well. And that's all I have today.
Okay, does anyone have anything else? Looking for the appropriate motion? All in favor? Adjourn the meeting? Opposed? Good job, everybody. We got through.